Alrighty, how's everybody doing tonight? Okay, that went live. It was a little weird on the on my end on the replay, but what's going on? How's everybody doing? Carl, you still in the chat? All right, so Alfonso, what's going on? Ninja, what's going on? All right. So obviously the title of the topic of this stream is why techs have trust issues. So figured it'd be an interesting topic for, a live stream rather than doing a video on it because, well, lots of techs have trust issues because, well, shops mistreating them. And it's unfortunately too common. Ninja, I'm doing great. So, like for instance, every flat rate guy has a story of, the shop telling them, oh yeah, we'll be able to keep you busy 40, 50, 60 hours a day. And you get there and you're billing 20, 30, there was a discussion online talking about, well, when it's a tech gets there, you promised them this much money and then you got to reevaluate based on how they perform. And then all of a sudden, they're changing the your pay system because you're not, what they think you were, which in any other industry would be immediate cause for a lawsuit. You can't change somebody's pay system willy-nilly, but most people in this industry don't sign contracts. Keith, what's going on? Yeah, no, everybody's been there and done that. Jesse just broke an O2 socket. Woohoo! Junkyard Genius. There's good shops out there. Don't think my issues. There's good shops out there. Everybody's gonna have issues. It's like working for anybody. I mean, you can go work any industry, and you'll have, this job will suck. You'll move on to the next company, and all of a sudden it's great. There's lots of good shops out there. The thing is finding those good shops. And that's the big thing is you got to find a good shop to go work for. But like getting back to the discussion, like any other industry, if you change somebody's pay system, nobody would accept that. But yet in the automotive industry, it's common that, all of a sudden your pay as a technician can change because they didn't like something they saw or whatever. And it's like, why do we accept that? I wouldn't accept it. Personally, I wouldn't accept that. If I went into a job and, I'm sitting there going, what do you mean my pay's getting changed? Because nope, call the tow truck, get it out of here. Because I'm not putting up with that. But a lot of people will. RPM, yeah, there are there are a lot of bad places to work out there. Don't get me wrong. Jesse, that's good. I think I have 6 O2 sensor sockets. Not for braking, but just different length options and that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, I don't think I've spread one pretty bad, but I've never broken one. But yeah, no, I mean, it's, but so often technicians can, you talk to a group of technicians about this kind of stuff, and they'll all have stories. Yeah, RPM, I accept a pay change until the next offer comes in. Yeah. Yeah, Jesse, been there, done that. Got the car, the van up on the lift, and you're sitting there trying to get usually to a connector. Like I've done that on vans, just because I don't want to take the doghouse off. I will go cut the snot out of my hands to unplug a Ford O2 sensor just so I don't have to take the doghouse out. Because 9 times out of 10, if it's a van, the doghouse sucks to get off because there's usually like 14 tons of stuff in the way. Randy just quit being a diesel engine technician at a dealership for 9 years. Hourly commission went to an automotive body shop to paint cars on flat rate. I made more in a week than prepping fenders then. Paint guys, a good paint guy is worth their weight in gold. Yeah, E350, yeah. Jesse, yeah. Yeah, they're easy to, the doghouse is easy to remove. 99% of the vans out there are work vans, and there's always like tools and all sorts of junk in the way. Like the last doghouse I had off, it was literally would have filled up, most trunks of stuff that I had to move to get the doghouse out. Yeah, body shop techs can make bank if they get in the right situation. Um, Ray, what's up? Mr. Strawberry Hurricane. Bosses will definitely lie to you during the interview. Yes, they will. I mean, they the thing about it is if they're lying to you in the interview, they're going to lie to you on a daily basis. So it's definitely a good thing to learn that they lie because, to get the heck out of there. The Hemi guy, after watching your videos, I'm afraid to go to work. I own the place and work for myself. Yeah, Astro vans, yeah. Oh, yeah. Jesse PDX, yes. Nothing's unique about our industry as far as that. Yes, there's always dishonest people everywhere. But yes, I mean it's you're gonna find it any job you go into, you're gonna find it. It's just some of the stuff in the automotive end of it, of what they get away with, is part of the problem because we let them get away with it. Jesse, my boss just got fired after giving me a 1% cost of living increase. I didn't feel bad. Okay. 1% kind of sucks for cost of living, but Jason, what's going on? Randy, I will tell you a story. A body man I knew had a Mr. Big, the two, the what, 12-foot long toolbox, and he quit his job, lost his job. I don't know exactly remember the situation, but it literally would not fit in his garage, so he cut the toolbox in half. Yeah, he cut a Mr. Big in half. Keith, yeah, too bad we don't strike like the writers and actors. Yeah, I mean, there's give and take on some of the stuff with the actors and writers strike, but you know, I mean, it's a different situation. I mean, you know, everything is in a lot of ways everything is, you know, there's stuff that's very similar about every industry in this industry, but there's also a lot of things that are very different. You know, it is what it is. LOL. Yeah, no, I mean there's lots of tools out there, Jesse. There's money to be wasted and money to be not wasted. Randy, orbital sander and a paint gun. Yeah, the orbital sander is the problem I have. I don't have the patience for sanding things to perfection and getting them all right. I could paint a car. I have painted vehicles and done a very good job, I must say myself, but I don't have the patience to do the prep. Well, cool, Jesse, you know. Yeah. I figured out what you meant. I figured out you meant picks, but yeah, I know that's cool. You got ready there picks. Um, yeah, I mean, you gotta have whatever the situation is. You gotta have he's got three nice ones at his house instead of one big one. But you know, everybody's situation is different. I mean, trust me, having two massive toolboxes, one with a locker, sucks moving around. I Randy, I love the repetition somehow. Some people really thrive in that kind of environment. They really do. I mean, it's a personality thing. It's not something for me. I don't like repetition. But yeah, no, I good for you. Well, that's cool. Jesse buys the cars from the auction and fixes them, you know. The Hemi guy, I do custom paint on repair on bikes for insurance companies besides restoration. Yeah, insurance, the billing on insurance is so weird, but you make bank. Yeah, paint and body don't do it for me. I don't, like I said, I can paint a car. I've painted cars, I've painted trucks. The prepping them, no, I'm not spending hours sanding, getting it right. Hemi guy, I like body. I mean, there's, there's, I've known people that could sit there and perfect, you know, everything on a body, and it's just they love it. More power to you, because I can't. Be shaping a fender, getting rid of all the extra bondos. Like, good enough, screw it. Just because I can't stand the repetition. But yeah, it's always interesting hearing what different people enjoy in this industry as a whole. I mean, I've talked to people that you know can't stand dealing with wires. They'd rather be pushing in hunks of steel. People that like dash work. I mean, and people my size, not little itty bitty guys that love dash work. I'm like, no. But everybody likes their own thing in this industry, which is one of the cool things about this industry is you can always get into the stuff that you enjoy. Randy, by the way back when, not long after getting into diesel mechanics, I was watching your videos for general tools to get. Wow, time flies. Yes, it does. Yeah, F Bobby, I would imagine you hate dash work. Hemi guy, I've seen lead work done. It is very cool. You know, doing the custom kind of stuff you're doing, I can understand you doing lead. Is it actually still lead or is it a lead replacement? Because I'm sure there's some health hazards with using actual lead. See, I hate old European cars. I can never win. Nobody ever wins on old European cars. Period. End of story. you know, yeah, no one wins with old Euro cars. That was that's an argument that a shop owner service writer just cannot understand is, and it's really even older cars. Once you get past a certain point, the amount of stuff that's going to break, be unavailable, that's why it's so rare. It's one of the greatest things that the loss of productivity working on old cars is stupid. If for a high production shop to work on anything old is just a bad idea. You lose so much dealing with it. And I've talked about it on the channel because, a smaller shop that can, push something out, have it sit there for 2 weeks while they're waiting on some obsolete part to come in from eBay or whatever isn't a big deal. But like at a production shop where you're constantly churning, working on a 20-year-old car where that little connector breaks. I mean, I'll use a good example at, working on an old Jaguar, and like every connector you break, you touch, you even look at, just comes apart, and you have to go find that connector, get it in, and then, because that car didn't get touched for 2-3 days waiting on that connector from like connector experts or whatever. And then you touch something else, coolant hose breaks. And that's always the cascading effect of those old cars is you touch something, it goes bad, it just keeps going worse. It's the Hemi guy, it's solder without lead, but he does have a bunch of 70-30 real lead sticks. Yeah, F Bobby. After like 6 or so years up here, the labor guide goes out the window, too much rust. I mean, even without rust, I mean, so much, like throwing control arms are, not a big deal, but you do any sort of actual repairs on it, I mean, it's not hard for just every job on those cars to go completely south. Always going to be above what the estimate was. Always going to be, there's always going to be problems with those kind of cars. And if it's a production shop, it's literally not worth it. You're just losing money. VTech Chair, do you know which brand of scan tools has the cheapest subscription updates? No, I don't. I don't have any sort of database on update cost. My guess would probably be for equivalent tools. I mean, maybe X tool might be cheaper than. I mean, they're kind of all the same. It's just, and the problem is there's also so many different models. like an update for, a tool that does, key programming versus one that does bidirectional controls and all that is significantly different. So that's a really hard question to answer. I'm sorry, but it's there's so many variations out there, so many different models. And even if I tried to compile a list of every scan tool's update costs, 2 months later, it'd be invalid, because prices change. They realize they priced too high, or they just raise the prices arbitrarily. I've seen that. So I'm sorry. It's just so hard to keep track of that kind of stuff. I couldn't tell you. And there's now so many, there's 3-4 variations of launch tools. I think 4 now. 4 variations of Autel tools that are rebranded or reboxed or whatever. So yeah, sorry. F Bobby, it's something you have to train your advisors on. Yeah. I mean, it really, they should be accepting those. So it should be a policy from the shop owner to not accept those cars. But it's so easy, and service writers just cannot understand that fact that older cars are not going to be cut and dry repairs, and they just want to sell it as a cut and dry repair. Yeah, it's going to be $600 to do that alternator. Oh, what do you mean I need a radiator and a coolant hoses because I looked at the radiator and it fell apart? Just about every old Toyota. All right, so what's going on? The Hemi guy. The cars I restore are 426 Hemis. So over the years, I've stocked up on parts. Yeah, that's a good thing because, yeah, as he says, hard to get parts for 426 Hemis original. Keith, working on the car is the easy part. Yes, it is. Yeah, that's the really, really sad part is the car part's the easy stuff. It's all the BS that you got to put up, hence the title of this stream. Renegade, what's up? Robbie, trust issues come from hearing, don't worry, we'll get you on the next one. Still waiting on that mythical next one. Never. I've never gotten I'll get you on the next one, and they actually get you on the next one. Yeah, that's one of the biggest ones is, oh, no, I'll take care of you on the next one. And next one comes around and you're like, well, no, I can't charge the customer for that. That was a different car. Like, then don't say that bullshit. New level. Keith, Toyota's break. This ain't Scotty Kilmer's channel. Nicholas Wade, one example of trust issues, techs finding the work they wrote up was given to another tech for no reason. Yep. That will definitely. Yeah, I mean that's Gordon Freeman, FRM. I did a trans on a 2015 Toyota Tacoma. See, Keith, Toyota's brake. I didn't do the rear main seal, but because it looked okay. Should I go back and replace it? No. I mean, the thing is if it wasn't leaking, I mean, replacing it is always good insurance, but I definitely wouldn't tear it back down to replace it if it wasn't leaking. F Bobby, how about the liquid cooled alternators on the mid 2000 Cadillacs? Imagine what one of those looks like these days. or BMW or Maybach or any of the other water-cooled alternators. I believe those have been discontinued. Don't quote me on that, but I believe they have been discontinued. So the only way you get them is through the aftermarket, and we know how good aftermarket alternators are. What's going on, Keith? Dirty Dan Racing, Goodwill warranty for Karen customers who don't even get work done at our dealership caused me and the advisors grief. Yeah, no, that's I mean, it's free work for you as a tech, but it still always bugged me. Goodwilling stuff that shouldn't be goodwilled. So I agree on that, but it's they're cost of doing business for a dealership, especially. Keith, want to get rid of trust issues, get rid of service advisors. Keith, I would disagree with that. Get rid of shop owners because those are the ones that screw with people the most, or shop managers. The Hemi guy, my brother is a tech at Toyota in Texas. He says it's job security. Yeah. Keith Kapinski, ever hear you got to pull some hours? Where are these hours on a tree outside? Yeah, I love being told you need to bill more hours as you're sitting there twiddling your thumb. And, like, what do you want me to do? Write up an engine on the mythical car in my bay that doesn't exist? Spreading out the work is why I left my last job. Yeah, that sucks. Robbie Santos, that is exactly an example of trust issues. Honestly, doesn't feel right charging the client for that diag. It was too easy. You mean the thousands of hours of training that led you to know exactly where to go? Keith, getting rid of flat rate won't fix trust issues. We'd still have the same issues. You'd still have shop owners lying to techs, saying they're going to pay them one thing, paying them something different, still treating them like crap. You can pay hourly and still treat people like shit. So that's just that may be a reason for some issues in the shop, but it ain't all of them. Yeah, Gordon, thanks. My favorite line is, "We'll pay you internally." Yeah, never do. Goodwill equals the tech will pay for it. Service advisors like the pushy used car salesman. No thanks. So I pay. Eric O says I pay my guys a percentage off of every ticket they produce, hourly with bonus. Guess what, Keith? Guess what, Eric? That's flat rate with a guarantee. That's all you're paying. It's just you're guaranteeing them this much money. Make sure you produce this much to get the rest of your income. True, Keith. Every single shop out there is hiring. No need to stay in a place you're not feeling welcome, right? Yep. It's what I've been preaching from lately is if you're getting treated like crap, move on. Yeah, help me out. I'll make it up on the next one. Eric. Yeah, you pay hourly with a bonus. So you're paying them a hourly wage, so a guarantee, and then the bonus is flat rate. So you're paying them a guaranteed flat rate bonus. It's flat rate with a bonus, or flat rate with a guarantee. That's what you're paying them, if a hourly wage, which is a guaranteed, and then you're bonusing them, which is a flat rate system. It's just a different way to pay a commission-based pay system. Still a commission-based pay system. I'm not complaining about your pay system, Eric, by the way. It's a valid way to pay people, but it's still, depending on how you do their commission, still commission-based payments, pay system. So, yep, Paulo, toolboxes have wheels for a reason. Orion, yeah, I used to get paid hourly with bonus. Felt like I got punished when I took a vacation, only made my hourly rate. I mean, that's, it's, it is vacation, but, the bonus is not flat rate. Yeah, okay, let me reiterate this, Eric. Because you pay your people based on a commission, it is still a commission-based pay system. No, it's not flat rate, but you pay them a commission based on their output, right? That means their base pay is hourly versus flat rate where you have no base pay. Flat rate with a guarantee, let's just say for the sake of it, it's $1,000 base pay for, hourly base pay, and then you've got a commission on top of that. So it's still the same commission-based pay system. You just give them a base pay. So it's just, it's a commission-based pay system. You can justify it how you want, but you're still paying them commission based on their output. And then they have a base salary or base pay system. So it's a commission-based pay system. The Hemi guy, I love flat rate at the body shop. At 16, 18 years old, I knocked down good money in the 80s. My boss switched us all to hour. I said, screw it. I joined the military, retired in 2005. Yeah, it's Reaper, tomato, tomato. It's Easy E. I don't know what it is currently, but it got dropped. I think it was originally 8 hours. I think it might be 4.5, 5, but yes, if Kakabutt now only flags 16 hours for a week and he wants to open on Saturdays, is this on drugs? Yes. Opening longer won't change that. You need to pick up your advertising and get them in. New level, what is a vacation? I'm going to find out at the end of this year. Learning 66, what's up? Robbie, sometime I think it'd be better off selling drugs. At least I would know for sure everyone's out to rob me. Rich Thumb, that's one of the problems. He says if an independent shop is always swamped with work, are you not charging enough? No. If you're that swamped in work, you're not charging enough. Or you need more employees or more base space. Yes, and you're right. He says I feel like when I don't make as much money when we're swamped. Yeah, no upsales, no, you're so worried about keeping up that you can't, get at some of the other work that you're missing, and you wind up chasing your tail. When you're absolutely slammed, productivity, you'd be surprised how bad it takes a hit, because you can't get into that flow because you're always getting interrupted with all that other stuff going on. Jacob, I'm thinking about tech school. Any tips? Definitely look into local programs that don't require massive amounts of money. That's the biggest thing. You got to remember you're getting the basics at a tech school. You're going to use that knowledge in a shop. So don't spend $40,000, $60,000 going to UTI or any of those kind of places. Keith, upsells make for customers that price shop. Upsells, you're thinking about it wrong. Upsells meaning finding other issues with the car, meaning it came in for, check engine light and you see that it's got 4-ball tires. That's still an upsell. If you're taking care of the vehicle properly, the customer will understand that. If you're upselling flushes and stuff and you're just trying to make a buck, no, that's not a good way to do it. But upsells doesn't have, just because it has a negative connotation doesn't mean you're actually trying to upsell them, some BS service. It means you're looking at the car properly and writing up the stuff it needs so they can budget for them. F. Bobby, that is not true. He says flat rate techs are one of the only jobs and the only job in the world where everyone else's skill at the job directly affects your paycheck. Work construction, Bubba. Somebody that you have no control over can affect your paycheck. Go to a job site and, be a drywaller and the electrician hasn't finished the rough in. Your paycheck just went to crap. So just an example. The biggest thing with, if you're that slammed and it's so hard for shop owners and managers and that kind of stuff to do, is you need to regulate your traffic. If you're that slammed that you can't keep up, you need to take in less cars till you can get it back to a reasonable level. But it's so hard. Yeah, Eric, 2-week backlog isn't bad. I mean, that's, awesome that you've had a backlog for 20 years and had a 2-week backlog. 2 weeks isn't bad. But, some of these shops that's 10 techs and 2 weeks is ridiculous for them to even get a car into fix. ISO, when I'm deep in a big job or diag and the dispatcher comes up to me with a waiter recall, oil change. Yeah, they don't get that kind of stuff. They just, and then they'll come back out and want you wondering why that car's not done. Philly D, yeah, there is a lot of free automotive classes out there. Keith, no, you don't rip customers off. He says 4-ball tires is not the upsell we're talking about. Upsells are anything you upsell. If you're upselling BS, you're ripping the customer off. If you're informing them about a service need on their vehicle, you're informing them about a service need. Whether they buy it or not is up to them, but you can't not point out problems with their car. The car comes in for a check engine light and it brakes are metal on metal. You have to inform them, or you should inform them. And it's not a bad thing to upsell brakes on a car that are brought to be metal to metal, just like 4-ball tires. That's a fine upsell, but in your context, I guess you're thinking, upselling some BS. But yeah, if you treat your customers right, they'll come back. Eric. Oh shit, Eric is here. Wow. Yes, I know. I know some famous people. um. Keith talking about working for City. New Level Auto. Yeah, let's see you in 2 months and recheck. Which is a perfectly valid thing to do. The 4-ball tires, I wouldn't recheck those. I'd tell them to go get tires, but bringing up service needs is not an upsell. Yeah, don't forget the pizza or Subway, or stay open later with 2 shifts. The problem with 2 shifts is most shops are not set up for 2 shifts. Robbie. Yeah, Eric, don't lie to customers ever. Honestly, you should never lie to anybody in your life other than innocent white lies to, kids like Santa Claus is real. Not, brake pads are you're about to die because your brakes are 4 mil, whatever, or, 4 mil. Half-worn brake pads. What do you consider half-worn brake pads there, Keith? Keith at New Level. All these shops closing doors at 5 p.m. They forget the customers work too. Most shops have a way of after-hours pickup, so that's usually not a problem, and they have after-hours drop-off. Yeah, the Hemi guy, yeah. It's surprising the clientele difference between not charging very much and charging a lot tends to get you the better customers. So, ISO, chances are if they told you not to the multi-point, there might be a reason, but doesn't matter if I'm getting paid to look over a car, I'm on flat rate or not paid to look at a car. I'm still going to look over a car simply because I don't want to turn that car out not safe. So I'm always going to look at the brakes. I'm always going to look at the tires. I'm always going to look at, the belts and hoses and make sure nothing's about to pop. The fluid levels are good. Keith, what's the average life of a brake pad? Depends on a lot of factors there, Bubba. Some Nissans won't make 12,000 miles on the factory pads on the rear. And And around Atlanta, average most cars under 30,000 miles. A lot of stop and go in Atlanta. But for me, I recommend, I make them aware of brake. I recommend brakes under 3 mil. So the go no gauge doesn't fit anymore at 3 mil. I don't, condone telling them they're about to die or anything like that. 4 mil, upcoming needs. 3 mil is, they're going to be needed soon, but it's still, I never scream anything about brakes until they're metal to metal or about to be metal to metal. Robbie, every time my dealership asks people to stay late, we just ask for overtime. They always say no and no one stays. It's pretty funny. Learning 66, the reason for being slammed can be multifaceted. It can be anything. Very expensive shops can be slammed. There's lots of reasons for lots of things, but they may not be diagging. They may not be moving cars through the lot properly. They may be slammed because they're doing so much BS work. They may be slammed because they've got so much work sold because they have a trusted name in the community. There's lots of reasons a shop can be slammed. Eric, not Erico, I witnessed a customer come inside the shop from a waiting room because a tech recommended rear brakes. He lied to the customer. He got caught on the spot. He got fired. I've had several customers come in for a second opinion on brakes, and literally 6 mil brakes, which there's no reason to recommend 6 mil on a car ever. There's Motor Breath, Chevy trucks. I'm sure you're referring to the 2500 and 3500s. Those brakes last forever. F Bobby, I can smoke brake pads at 10K. I can smoke pads in 10K. Seen cars with 60K. I've seen trucks, 2500 and 3500 Silverados with 120,000 miles with the original pads on them. Akabona makes some really good pads. New Level, is this a customer have history, know their driving habits? If yes, you can usually estimate safety time to really identify a time for repairs. Yes, maybe. No, depends. I mean, I've seen, give a perfect example. I literally can give a great example. We had a customer come in. We looked over their car. Brakes were fine. They paid for an inspection. Didn't give us any reason why. It had been serviced by us at the old shop for several years. Brakes, I don't remember exactly how good they were, but they were not recommended by the previous tech. The car came in 3 months later, metal on metal front brakes. You want to know why? They wanted it checked out because they were giving it to their child who just got their driver's license. So even if you know the car and the customer, you don't know what could change. So it's all you can do is tell them the situation of their car. If you try to make decisions for them, you're overstepping your bounds as a service technician. it's up to them. They can decline it. I've never, I don't care if a customer declines brakes that are not unsafe. I mean, if they're still stopping the car, they still have pad material, they can, it's up to them. It's their money. Yeah, no, Keith. Yeah, he said he allows the customer to prepare the funds, gives a feeling of comfort. Yeah, I don't agree with anybody hard selling a customer on any repair other than actual dangerous to the customer, client, or the community. Tires showing cords, metal on metal brakes. Other than that, there should never be a hard sell in automotive. So I 100% agree with that. Oh, yeah, no. Keith, he says, you got a customer with 3 kids in college and is working 18-hour days. Don't bother this fellow with that flush unless it really needs it. Yeah. No, I don't. I don't, I'm not running out and flushing every fluid on every car because I don't agree with that. But yeah. It doesn't matter if the tech talks to the customer or not. You don't know what things could change with the vehicle. And even if you do know the car and know the customer, doesn't mean they're 100% loyal to you. Doesn't mean you know everything about that car. Doesn't know you mean everything about that customer. Renegade's Garage. My sister's Fusion has 105,000 on it. She still has the factory pads. I know because I haven't had to do them yet. Cracked brake pads, those would be a safety concern. Don't see cracked brake pads as often in the South or, rust jacking or any of that. Usually when we see cracked brake pads, it's usually crappy brake pads, but yeah, that would be a safety concern. Orion, labor rate should be 200 so shops can afford to pay techs what they deserve. Pay is what, everything is subjective, and I'm not really gonna get into that. Keith is always chill. Oh yeah, wheel bearings is a good example. Yeah, that one too. I mean, it's safety is the only thing I'll really want to push hard. Other than that, I don't agree with hard selling a customer on anything. Oil leak, okay, I'll top the oil off and let the customer know it's got an oil leak. They can't afford to fix it or don't want to fix it. Not my money, not my car. Robbie, if they can afford college for 3 kids, they can afford some flushes. Learning 66, I see so much ripoff from our dealership techs recommending brakes before they do. It makes me sad. I can't stand that. Is it flat rate does enable that kind of activity? I will 100% agree. But, Eric O talking about paying his techs a bonus. Well, bonus will give you the same incentive to rip off customers. I like to think people are honest, but there's a lot of people that are not honest. I can't recommend brakes when they don't need them. I mean, I can't recommend stuff that a car doesn't need. I can't do that to a customer. I can't do that for myself. I have to sleep at night. I can't sit there and go, oh, I need money, so screw these people. I'm going to rip them off. No. I've had to do the walk of shame because I did not take the wheel off of a car, and because of how the design of the caliper was, I misread how much pad was left on a car, And I had to walk up to the service writer and tell them, I wrote this car up for brakes. It doesn't need it. I took it off the ticket. We're not doing them. Because it didn't need them. It literally, I was ripping the customer off if I'd have done those brakes. I told the service writer, I'm not doing them. Doesn't need them, because that's the right thing to do. And if, and shops should be weeding these people out. I worked with a guy like that. I didn't work directly with him, and I only found out about it right before I left that shop, went to work for a different shop. But he had, because it was a fleet type shop, he would write up brakes on fleet cars that he knew would not question it, wouldn't look at their records when the last time brakes were done, because he knew exactly what fleets to hit. So he was swapping out almost brand new brake pads on like E350s, E450s, or F450s, F550s all the time that were like 10, 12 mil. So those people should be arrested and put in prison. But that'd be a different problem. Renegade, funny thing is we all want to get paid more until we have to have someone else to do the job, and then we want it as cheap as we can get it. LOL. Dude, when I have to pay somebody that does something I don't know how to do or can't do, I am more than willing to pay them what they're worth. So I don't have a problem with that. But vast majority of people don't. Keith says, he will say, I knew every customer by name, knew their kids' names, knew their driving habits, etc. Dude, I can remember everything about cars that I didn't even work on, but other people in the shops did. Like, I can remember cars that were worked on by techs I worked with 15 years ago and tell you everything that's been done to that car. I couldn't tell you anybody's names. I almost never remember names. I remember faces great. I suck at names. So even for me, it wouldn't matter, because I'd remember your car, though. Jataro, what do you think of techs that just come in and do 8 hours of state safety inspections all day, every day? God, I would be bored to death. That's what they want to do. Robbie, more money pays for a more comfortable pillow. You sleep just fine. No, I wouldn't. Learning 66, the brakes on my personal vehicle got changed due to pulsation. Every time before they get down too low for my fault every time, LOL. My wife's vehicle too. When I changed her brakes and rotors, she had 8 mil on her pads. So trust me, I feel you on that one. Stranger than Bigfoot. My shop wants us to put it in a coolant flush, even when reusing coolant. So they make more, and I constantly butt heads with them over this. I put a stop to that at the old shop, because they would put a coolant flush on a car when they were taking the system down, and the old shop did not have a coolant flush machine, so it was always just a drain and fill. It wasn't a true flush. So I didn't like selling it anyway. One, you shouldn't be reusing coolant unless you know the condition of it. You should be putting in fresh coolant, but you shouldn't be selling something you're not doing. Street Mechanic UK is different. The annual MOT is so strict in a lot of things that need to be changed, or will fail the car's legal to drive. Broken plastic tag on headlights, so headlight is out of alignment, fail. Bottom of doors were rusty, so failed due to exposed sharp edges, filled with duct tape. Yeah, no, I mean, there's inspections that he's talking about. There's safety inspections. There's emissions inspections. I know the MOT is pretty tight. Um, um, but yeah, no, I mean, it's an MOT is a different kind of inspection. I think, yeah, than what Jotaro was talking about. Um, um, how to repair auto repair. I think it doesn't help when you multi-point shows yellow or red depending on millimeters, so it's looks worse than they really are on paper. Yeah, that kind of does suck. I don't like those paper stupid things anyway. um I think, they're just a lot of stupid thing. uh, New level auto learning. If you're getting pulsation, you may want to consider a higher quality tech that don't pulsate because they're low. Sometimes it's not cleaning those hubs correctly or even properly checking. I'm assuming run out. My wife's brakes pulsate because she's hard as hell on the brakes, and I didn't do those brakes in the first time. CarMax did those brakes. They've been properly cleaned since I've done them. Tristan Heller, the lack of informing, educating, and advising from service advisors to customers due to service advisors not being educated themselves. That is a very good point. Um, New level auto, you didn't know the names because you didn't get to shake the hands as they got in the way. No, I don't remember names. I suck at names. Doesn't matter if I met them or not. Like, I remember faces. Like, I can tell you who's, I see a customer that I know their face. I can tell you what their car they drive, what's been done to the car, whether or not I've worked on it, etc., etc. I don't remember names. So because that is one thing I do absolutely suck at, is I do not remember names well, but I will remember faces. Stronger than Bigfoot, only former mechanics should be service advisors. Rich, basically talking about doing the auto check. But even checking for 2 minutes, he still gets more work than they can sell. Wizard, can you make a video on how to find a good shop to take a car to? I'd have to think about that because I'm not even sure if I could give advice on that. Because I've been in this industry so long that I don't know. I mean, I've seen, I don't know on that one. Renegade's Garage. Back when I had my shop, I had a customer come in with a misfire. Just had a tune up at a different shop. One of the spark plug wires was on the exhaust manifold bolt. I installed it on the spark plug. Yeah, I've actually been there and done that. It was a Ford product, and the one back exhaust bolt was a stud, and they put it on the stud. So I have seen that. Yeah, I mean, learning. Yeah, I mean, it's Keith is right. You need to clean your hubs, because lateral run out is a thing. A little speck of dust at the hub is how much more, when it's levered out to the end of the rotor. My wife is very hard on her brakes, so he'll do that to cheap Chinese rotors. And again, I didn't do those brakes. Yeah, Renegade. Customer couldn't believe I wouldn't charge them when I fixed their vehicle. I said I really didn't do anything. So, I mean, I'd probably have charged them a discounted diag rate or something, but not, anything substantial. I probably would have, charged them a half hour or something. Keith, I see Keith Kapinski. I see techs at Chrysler with comebacks all the time because they're hell bent on money. I get one and I'm so bent out of shape I need a drink. Dude, I hate comebacks. I hate comebacks with a passion. I don't like working for free. I've always, I screwed up, I fix it. If I screw up, I feel horrible about it for me, the shop, everybody involved. A comeback is something I strive to have as few as I possibly can at any time. The Hemi guy, I love Rust. It keeps me busy. Street mechanic. I'm just a weekend warrior fixing my own cars on the street. I tell my friends not to look for the cheapest garages. It's a false economy in the long run. Yeah, you pay. You have to pay. You want quality. Paying for it doesn't guarantee quality, but it improves your chances of good quality. You got to pay what the service is worth. F. Bobby had a Camaro come in with one of the plug wires off of the coil pack. No misfire, no check engine light, no nothing. Just caught it with a visual inspection. Robbie, anybody talk about why Snap-on tools are the best and everyone else is garbage? Keith DeFazio, actually an old friend, said, looks like copper, pays like gold. One, two, three, Don Master. Very hard finding an honest shop to work for these days. I think it's time for me to work for the bus barn. There's definitely issues finding good places to work. Mac 1911. The rust keeps you busy. You have to make sure you get paid for the added time fighting it. F. Bobby, speaking of quality, anybody been having quality problems with Napa stuff recently? Does like a year and a half sound about right? Have had a lot of problems with Napa parts. Don't use a lot of Napa brake rotors, but yeah, we've had a lot of issues with. I've had a lot of issues with Napa parts being wrong, not fitting, not working. Yeah, I mean, what everybody's saying the same thing. Everybody's been having problems with them. The Hemi guy, I used to. Asked about rebuilding carburetors. I used to, but I gave it up a long time ago. Just, it's not really really proved to not be worth it just for the headaches that it caused, because the people I dealt with at least wanted it to drive like their Mercedes or their, decked out Silverado or whatever, fuel injected. So that's when I stopped doing it. I went to 3 Don Master. Anyone having problems with dormant parts? LOL. Yeah. Um, Come to think of it, Bobby, we did have not pulsation, but we had rotors come in with a pretty bad case of rust on them that we sent back, which sucked because it was one of those things where we couldn't get anything else. That's why we got them from Napa. Yeah. Yeah, Mac. I mean, that was one of the things that I kept finding is like I dealt with a lot of like quadrajet, and actually I talked about it in a video that I filmed recently. Um, the quadrajets that the bushings would go bad, and it was hard finding bushing kits for those readily available. So you'd wind up sending it to the carburetor shop that was in Atlanta. They'd do it and they'd rebuild it, and it was just stored under the lake. I think it was Eric O that kept talking about CarQuest CV axles smelling like pot. So, but anyway. Street Mechanics snap-on flare nut wrenches are the best. They have been so far that I've seen. So yeah, no, it's Dorman fixes it 50% of the time every time. Yep, pretty much. Renegade Garage carburetors are easy to rebuild. Yes, till you can't find a float that actually floats. Um, yes, I have gone through literally in the parts store every carburetor kit on the 2-barrel Motorcraft carburetor, and literally every float they had for that carburetor would not float. Kind of useless as a float when it won't float. I mean, that was a long time ago, but I mean, that was a long time ago, come to think about it. But yeah, I got them to get me a cup of water because the float I got for a carburetor, because the kit that I bought didn't come with a float. Um, but they had the float. So I'm like, okay, cool. I think they had 2 others on the shelf. They didn't float. 716, yep, wrenching. Um, just an FYI, we will not be seeing me film in a shop. So the background is a permanent part of my channel now. But yeah, I'm back. I'm working. Fleep, I appreciate it. Francis Electric. Have you ever had to deal with a pay reduction for a tech who was overpaid and underperformed? Usually they quit when given the option of staying with a payout. I've never actually dealt with that. I've heard about it. But I've never personally dealt with it. If I was a tech that was told I was getting paid less, I'd be leaving. But I've never actually dealt with it on the management side. Um, so 123 Don Master. I've had good luck with Bosch rotors or Wagner if I'm fairly really cheap, better than O'Reilly's or anything. Akabono's rotors are my go-to. After that, Bosch rotors are decent. And some of the, like Brembos are usually decent, but they're, based on Brembo brakes as far as what the car had. But yeah, that could be a problem. Yeah. Mac 1911. I stopped rebuilding carburetors before the ethanol gas came in, which is really bad for carburetors. It was pre-ethanol, so I didn't deal with a lot of oxidation, but I've heard that's really bad a problem nowadays. Keith, we all say bad things about the industry, but a nice day when you're killing it, it makes it all worth it. Yeah, man, when you have one of those good days where just everything goes great, you're making good money, you're just sailing through every job. Yeah, man, it's so great. Robbie, is Georgia nice to live in? How hot does it really get? 90s, close to 100, high humidity. I like Georgia. I'm originally from Wisconsin, but it is not a 9 months out of the year you're sweating or you're in air conditioning. Like, the only reason I'm wearing this is because this is the coldest room in the house and it rained outside, so got kind of cold in here. $716 auto shop videos were awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. Street Mechanic, I had to take an angle grinder to some Brembo brake pads to make it fit on a Saab 9.3. Well, your first problem is you're working on a Saab 9.3. I didn't say Brembo brake pads. I said Brembo rotors. Haven't had too much trouble with Brembos other than noise complaints. Learning at 66, carb tuning is a different mindset when the modern day technician. It's different worlds for different reasons. Yes, it very much is. Tuning a carburetor really is more of an art form. You know, it's one of the few art forms I mastered. I actually was really good at tuning a carburetor back in the day. Probably not much anymore. Auto zones are bad. Yeah, Philippe. Yeah, Renegade Garage. Yeah. We are known for the swamp butt. Rich, carb tuning depends on the choke. With an electric choke, it's easy, but heat riser tube type chokes are harder to dial in. Yeah. Or noon for the swamp butt. I read it as known, even though you didn't say that. Oh. New tech, what's a vacuum gauge? Oddly enough, Wednesday's video we'll talk about vacuum gauges and carbs. Nicholas R, what's the best online parts store? Talking for the regular consumer, or are you talking about a shop? For a shop, WorldPack. For a general consumer, I don't know. I've always ordered through the shop. What's a vacuum gauge? I have a Dyson. WorldPack's the best for commercial. One of the better interfaces. For the average consumer, I mean, Rock Auto is probably one of the easier ones to deal with as far as online. They're serviced out of multiple warehouses. I mean, that's, you can get a lot of OE parts through there. So I'd probably just say Rock Auto just as default. Cause I don't buy much, online like that. So I have very limited experience with buying as a customer because working in a shop. Yeah, Apollo, love Worldpack. Just wish their inventory on good parts would go back to where it was pre-COVID. Because that sucks when they have so little good quality parts available. That definitely sucks. Yeah, Robbie, I don't buy I don't buy from that kind of thing, so I don't know that. So could have no free shipping. I don't know. Paulo only 3 times a day. That sucks. We get World Pack in Atlanta delivers every hour and a half in Atlanta. Nicholas R. I would get a DIY subscription to All Data. They've got a DIY site. That'll be your best method to get OEM information on that particular vehicle. You get believe you pay for a yearly subscription for one VIN number or one car. But that's probably the best way you're going to get the best information is to pay for like DIY Mitchell, DIY All Data. Street Mechanic, how many of y'all remember adjusting engine timing with a light hooked up to the spark plugs? This guy, I don't even own one anymore, by the way. I literally do not own one. My last one ripped, the cords got ripped out by a fan, and I never bought another one. I was able to borrow from somebody else anytime I needed one. Yeah, F. Bobby, that does suck that you only got Napa and O'Reilly's. Is Mac 1911 is Worldpack a defective parts warehouse? Seems to get a good amount of defective OEM parts from them. You have to remember something about Worldpack and OEM parts. One, they may or may not be OEM. They may just be the OEM manufacturer. A lot of manufacturers have multiple grades of parts, and just because it's the OEM manufacturer for that part doesn't mean you're getting OEM parts. So it depends on the particular part you're getting, whether or not it's truly the OEM part just without the name on it. So just something to be aware of. Like, I will give a great example. NGK is the OEM manufacturer for a specific BMW engine. Put the Worldpack spark plugs in there, misfire on one cylinder. Put the OEM NGKs in there from BMW, no misfires. That specific vehicle, the spark plugs are really critical. It's an N22, I think, or something like that, N20. But they're very picky about spark plugs. And only difference between them was whether it said BMW or not. The NGKs misfired like hell. The BMW ones ran great. Left out of there. So just something to be aware of. Robbie, do you ever watch one of those videos of Pakistani guys rebuilding engines in the sandals and the dirt? Yes, I've seen those videos. Seen them in Mexico rebuilding stuff. Yeah, it's always interesting. What about for multiple cars? I don't have a good, that's probably I don't have a good option other than buying multiple. They're not super expensive, but I don't know exactly what they are anymore. But yeah, that's probably going to be the only option I can give you other than anything else is just look it up online and hope you can find what you need. But there's no real good way to get information for multiple vehicles cheaply for the average consumer. F. Bobby, yeah, we know about your 89 Firebird. So, of course, you have a timing light. Rich, many commercial fleet customers nowadays ask for OEM. I'd ask for OEM. Aspie commenting for the algorithm. Yeah, WorldPack has a lot less choices. Zimmerman, yeah, Paulo, definitely good option for European cars. Nicholas R, what's the best online tool store? Amazon. Using my links. Actually, Amazon's usually a good thing, except for Milwaukee, Gray Pneumatic, stuff like that, where it's hard to get warranty. But if you're buying from like the manufacturer's store, not like Amazon or something like that, usually warranty is not a big deal. But yeah, Amazon's probably one of your best bets for buying tools. Milwaukee, buy from like Home Depot. But yeah, everything else is pretty much, buy it on Amazon. You can usually find them at really good prices too. I prefer Jersey Discount Tools. Yeah, that's an option. I've never bought from Jersey Discount Tools, so I don't, JDC, I never bought from them, so I can't say specifically whether or not they're good. I haven't used them. Tristan Heller, do you think artificial intelligence could replace service advisors? If so, how long do you think it till it happens? I did a whole video about ChatGPT on this channel. Not long. Honestly, not long. Truth be told, with so many customers going to wanting nonverbal communications such as text or emails, because the vast majority of the population doesn't want to talk on the phone. You figure you have one cashier manager kind of role, and then everything else could be done with ChatGPT responding to inquiries, etc. So yes, service writers could be replaced easily with AI. If all they're doing is responding to an email, sending out a estimate of the work they want done, as long as you have a human to proofread it, it's not going to be hard. So probably is being done somewhere. Robbie, do you think flat rate exists in the Matrix? Well, of course it does. Brian McFarland, what's going on? Yeah, Renegade disagrees with you, Bobby. So you fight it out in the comments. Roland Baxter wants to know what hourly rate I should charge for a complete build of a 71 Blazer. Thank you for the channel. Hourly rate. Restorations, the complete restoration of a 71 Blazer, including an LS swap. I mean, I at least charge $100 an hour, at least, plus parts and consumables, but I don't do restoration, so I don't even know if that's even in the ballpark of what a restoration shop would charge. So that's just pulling it out of my butt. But 100, 150 an hour, at least. But that's not my specialty. Learning 66 went to the Harley drags this weekend at Cecil County, Maryland. Was awesome watching the Pro Street Fuel guys tuning their Nitro Harleys. Brian, I don't know. It's not blurry on my preview, so it's probably on your end. YouTube being YouTube. But yeah, it doesn't look blurry on me. Aspie had a chance to use a new launch X431, I assume HD Pro. It can connect to Thomas school buses, Detroit Diesels, as well as the 3412 Cat. Yep. Blue light guy, what percentage of the door rate should the average tech get in your opinion? The door rate is so subjective. Like, a lot of shops don't even have one single door rate. They might have 1 to 5 door rates. So what door rate do you go on? If they've got a maintenance cost rate, they've got a diag cost rate, etc. So I don't think that's a good metric to figure out the price a tech should get paid. But because by that rank, I mean, at a lot of shops in Atlanta, a tech should be making, if they make 50%, they should be making $100 an hour. Not gonna happen, at least not this point. So I mean, it's hard to say what door rate percentage should be. I mean, I don't think any tech in this business should be making less than $20 an hour, and the high end guys should be making $50-$60 an hour up. Roland, I appreciate it. Toxic workplace. It's surprising how much that will change your outlook on life when you get out of a toxic situation. Keith Kapinski. I work for shops that used a pay scale to cut your pay illegally, and it's so frustrating. That's when morality goes out the window. Yeah, if they're screwing you by doing a pay system that's designed to screw you, it's a problem. And they know they're doing it. I'm doing restoration at 25 cash an hour with a lot of peace of mind. Good for you, Roland. Just remember when a tax man comes. Brian McFarland, hey, is there any great liquid gasket stuff resistant to gas and oil? Oil, Toyota Foreman Place gasket maker is really good on oil. RTV. It's supposed to be somewhat resistant to gas, but any sealant, prolonged exposure to gas is going to destroy it, period. Nothing else is going to work on that. Learning 66 percentage of door rate. It's so subjective. Yeah, Rich. I mean, it's hard to say off of door rate because, like I said, shops can have 4 or 5 different door rates based on what you're doing, and they're not going to base it on the high dollar European or diesel door rate. They're going to base it on the maintenance rate that's like nothing. So technically, I might be getting close to half of door rate if you go look at it that way. K Cover, yes. Ashley says when I worked for Firestone, it was 16 for a loop tech, BNC techs 18 to 20 plus. We had one guy on flat rate. Yeah, that seems to be the theme for Firestone. They got a couple people on, basic nothing, and then they've got one guy they pay, and him still probably not that good. All right. Roland Baxter, how about the flat rate tech school? Is that in the future? Doubtful. I don't have the facilities for that. Learning 66 RTV 3 bond is what Nissan uses. Toyota Foreman Place gasket maker is 3 bond. Ford uses 3 bond too. But yeah, it's 3 bond is what I was talking about. So yeah, I don't know the differences between the formulations between Nissan, Ford, and somebody else. Mopar, I think, uses 3 bond too. Maybe GM, but I'm not sure on them at all. But I don't know if there's what the difference is, but what I was able to get, what we used at the old shop was always the 3 bond branded version of Toyota Foreman Place gasket. So yeah, definitely good stuff. Yeah, Honda uses Honda bond or Yamaha bond if it's a Yamaha. Learning, see, it's all awesome. Yeah. Yeah, see, I'm not sure if Honda bond is made by 3 bond or not. I've never found out who made Honda bond. So, but yes, definitely 3 bond is definitely good stuff. All right. I think I'm going to go ahead and call it here. My throat's starting to get sore from all talking so long. So I appreciate everybody stopping by. So as always, thanks for watching. I am the Flat Rate Master.